Was there one skill set that you wanted to improve upon and make sure that you sharpen that to be really good?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
No, I wouldn't say that because, you need an all-around game. You can't just be, good at one thing.
What do you mean by that?
To be on an NBA floor. So I'm, working on my body, working on my strength in the weight room, stuff like that, working on my quickness, but also coming out on the court and working on my, my game on the offense end. So it's been an all-around, work.
LeBron James just watched his son get buried on the bench for an entire game while the Lakers got destroyed by the Spurs. 1 minute of court time, 60 seconds. While the team was falling apart and desperate for bodies, Bronny sat there collecting splinters. And now, the king is dealing with something no amount of championships prepared him for. Should NBA coaches be forced to play the owners' or star players' kids? Or should merit always come first, regardless of whose feelings get hurt?
You gotta get some shooters. You gotta find somebody. You can't. Could you imagine, JJ, the movement without the basketball and the sharpshooter that he was sitting back watching these cats?
Watching it.
And then he's like, damn it, why can't I get up?
Yeah.
I wish I could get up.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. It's unbelievable. And I can't blame him because it's a damn shame because he works so hard, him and his coaching staff. And schematically, he knows what he's doing. If they just converted,
right,
they're fifth seed in the West.
So the Lakers just got absolutely demolished by the San Antonio Spurs, losing by 16 points in a game that felt more like a public execution than a basketball match. But here's the kicker. Nobody's talking about the actual loss. Everyone's focused on the fact that Bronny James played exactly 1 minute. Not one quarter, not one half, literally 1 single minute of garbage time while his team desperately needed depth because LeBron was resting.
He fires away, and that'll do it. It's the fewest points the Spurs have given up all season. Lakers shoot just 40% from the field.
Let's put this in perspective. The Lakers were so short on bodies that their bench got outscored by a ridiculous margin. They were throwing anyone with a pulse onto the court just to fill minutes. And yet, JJ Redick, the head coach who's supposed to be some basketball genius, looked at his bench and decided that Bronny James, the kid who's been getting hyped as a developmental project all season, deserved exactly 60 seconds of playing time. That's not a rotation decision. That's a statement.
Oh, right here. He played 32 minutes. Right here, 32 minutes. You had 3 fucking points. Now, let's go per 36. Since I would have been this if I played per 36. I'm giving you 6 more minutes because you thought it was per 30. It's fucking stupid. Oh, shit. You would have averaged 11, 12, 13, 11. This is per 36. So if they gave your ass 36 minutes, this would have been your fucking career.
Wait for it.
Trash.
And LeBron is absolutely losing his mind behind closed doors. He can't say it publicly because that would make him look like the controlling father everyone already thinks he is. But watching your son sit on the bench while the team crumbles, knowing that you orchestrated this entire situation to play alongside him in NBA history, that's gotta hurt. This was supposed to be the feel-good story of the decade. Father and son making history together, creating magical moments, selling jerseys, and building a legacy that would last forever. Instead, it's turning into a slow-motion train wreck that nobody can look away from. The fans are going absolutely nuts on social media. People are writing directly to JJ Redick saying things like, "Put Bronny in, man," and "Give me Bronny minutes over these other guys who can't do anything either." And honestly, they have a point. If you're going to lose anyway, if your bench is getting torched and you need bodies, why not give the kids some actual experience? What's the worst that could happen? You lose by more? You're already getting embarrassed.
I'm gonna say get a new coach, draft Bronny, and go get a superstar.
You don't see the writing on the walls?
What is that writing, Rashad?
JJ and LeBron start a podcast. JJ says he wants to be a coach. JJ gets hired by the Lakers. LeBron is still a player. JJ get to coach LeBron. They bring in Bronny.
How does that not make no sense? That was a good one.
A few moments later.
Lights, camera, action in Los Angeles today. Lakers introducing JJ Redick as their new head coach here.
With the 55th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bronny James.
The anticipation has been building for weeks.
How does that not make sense? That was a good one.
But here's where it gets complicated, because this isn't really about one game. This is about the entire mess that LeBron created when he forced the Lakers to draft his son. Everyone knew from day one that Bronny wasn't an NBA-ready player. The kid averaged 5 points per game at USC after dealing with a cardiac arrest situation. In any normal universe, he would have stayed in college for another year, developed his game, and earned his way to the league. But LeBron wanted his historic father-son moment, and the Lakers were desperate enough to keep their aging superstar happy that they went along with it.
Bronny! Knock down. Great shot.
Now they're stuck with a player who bounces between the G League and the NBA bench, never really belonging in either place. In the G League, he's shown some flashes, putting up decent numbers against lesser competition. But every time he gets called up to the NBA, he looks completely lost. The game moves too fast, the defenders are too good, and his decision-making falls apart. It's not his fault, really. He's just not ready. But nobody wants to admit that because admitting it means admitting that the entire experiment was a mistake from the beginning. Charles Barkley, who never holds back, has been saying for months that Bronny shouldn't even be on an NBA roster. He's criticized the Lakers for playing games with the kid's development instead of sending him to the G League full-time, where he might actually improve. And you know what? Chuck's probably right. But the Lakers can't do that because LeBron won't allow it. Having Bronny completely out of the NBA rotation destroys the entire narrative they've been building.
Bronny James, where do you still see the biggest maybe areas for him?
He is so much more comfortable and confident as a player. He's a totally different player than he was a year ago.
Is he further ahead offensively? He seems almost like a scorer, maybe even than he is on the defensive end. Like I think.
Yeah, he is.
Stop it. Get some help.
JJ Redick is caught in the middle of this disaster. He's a first-time head coach trying to manage a roster that includes the game's biggest star and that star's underqualified son. If he plays Bronny and the kid struggles, people blame him for putting an unprepared player in important situations. If he doesn't play Bronny, LeBron gets upset and fans start questioning why the kid is even on the roster. The 1 minute of playing time against the Spurs feels like Redick's way of saying, "Look, I tried," without actually committing to anything. It's the coaching equivalent of malicious compliance. You want me to play your son? Fine. Here's 60 seconds. Happy now? It's passive-aggressive roster management, and everyone can see right through it. What makes this even more painful is that LeBron rested during this game. He sat out to preserve his 41-year-old body, which is completely reasonable. But imagine being Bronny, watching your dad sit on the bench in street clothes while you're also glued to the bench in uniform, both of you basically useless to the team. That's gotta mess with your head. The entire reason you're supposedly on this roster is to play with your father, and now neither of you is even playing. The fans who are demanding Bronny get more minutes have a point, but they're also missing something crucial. Yeah, the Lakers were desperate for depth in that Spurs game. Yeah, some of the other bench players were terrible, but Bronny James is averaging 1.6 points per game and shooting under 32% from the field. Those aren't raw rookie finding his way numbers. Those are, this person should not be in the NBA numbers. You can't ask a coach to play someone with that kind of production just because his last name is James. And this is where the whole situation becomes genuinely sad. Bronny seems like a good kid. He works hard, he's coachable, he doesn't complain publicly. None of this is really his fault. He didn't ask to be thrust into the NBA spotlight before he was ready. His father made that decision for him, and now he's paying the price. Every game he sits on the bench, every minute he plays and struggles, every social media post calling him a bust, it all adds up. That's a lot of pressure for a 21-year-old kid who should probably be dominating college basketball right now instead of collecting DNPs in the league. LeBron's handling of this situation shows a side of him that people don't usually see. For all his brilliance on the court and all his business savvy off it, he completely miscalculated here. He thought his influence was strong enough to bend reality, to force his son into the NBA and make it work through sheer willpower and family legacy. But basketball doesn't care about your feelings. The game exposes everything eventually, and what it's exposing right now is that Bronny James is not an NBA player, at least not yet. The comparison to other NBA father-son situations makes this even more awkward. When Del Curry's sons made it to the NBA, they earned it completely on their own merit. Seth had to grind through college, prove himself, and fight for every minute. Steph became a superstar, but he did it by dominating at Davidson and showing he belonged. Nobody handed them anything because of their last name. The same goes for other second-generation players throughout NBA history. They all had to prove themselves first. Bronny got drafted because the Lakers knew it was the only way to keep LeBron happy. That's not speculation, that's just obvious. The 55th pick in the draft is usually a throwaway selection, someone who might stick around on a two-way contract or get cut before the season starts. Instead, Bronny got guaranteed money and a roster spot on one of the league's most famous franchises. That's not opportunity, that's privilege dressed up as merit. JJ Redick has tried to be diplomatic about the whole thing. He's talked about Bronny's work ethic and long-term potential, using all the right coaching words to avoid controversy. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions are screaming that he doesn't trust Bronny in real game situations. 1 minute against the Spurs tells you everything you need to know about what the coach really thinks.
The G League stats that people keep pointing to as proof of Bronny's potential are misleading. Yeah, he's had some good games down in South Bay. He's dropped 39 points in one game, shown flashes of playmaking, and looked comfortable against that level of competition. But the G League is specifically designed to be a developmental league. The defense is softer, the pace is different, and the pressure is nowhere near NBA level. Dominating there doesn't automatically mean you're ready for the big league. What's really happening here is that the Lakers organization is stuck managing an impossible situation. They can't cut Bronny because that would infuriate LeBron and probably push him toward retirement or requesting a trade. They can't play him significant minutes because he's not good enough and it would hurt their chances of winning. So they're stuck in this weird middle ground where Bronny exists on the roster but barely exists in games. It's roster purgatory, and everyone involved knows it. The media coverage around this whole thing has been incredibly careful. Most reporters won't directly say that Bronny doesn't belong in the NBA because they don't want to be accused of hating on LeBron or being insensitive to a young player's development. So instead, they dance around it with phrases like still developing and learning the NBA game and adjusting to the speed. But if you watch the actual games, if you see how lost he looks on both ends of the court, the truth becomes unavoidable. LeBron's anger about this situation is completely understandable from a father's perspective. No parent wants to watch their child struggle and get criticized publicly. But from a basketball perspective, this is entirely his own creation. He pushed for this, he wanted this historic moment, and now he's dealing with the consequences. You can't force the NBA to bend to your will just because you're LeBron James. The game is bigger than any one player, even the king himself. The Lakers' playoff hopes are hanging by a thread, and this Bronny situation is becoming a legitimate distraction. Every game he doesn't play becomes a story. Every game he does play and struggles becomes a bigger story. The media asks about it constantly, fans debate it endlessly, and the team has to keep managing this circus instead of just focusing on basketball. That's not sustainable for a franchise trying to compete for championships. Some people argue that the Lakers should just commit fully one way or the other. Either play Bronny real minutes and let him develop through actual game experience, or send him to the G League full-time and stop pretending he's an NBA rotation player. The current strategy of keeping him around but barely using him helps nobody. It doesn't help Bronny's development, it doesn't help the team win games, and it just creates ongoing drama. But making either of those decisions would require LeBron to accept reality, and that doesn't seem to be happening. He's spent his entire career controlling his narrative, managing his brand, and making things happen through force of will. Admitting that his son isn't ready for the NBA, that this whole father-son dream was premature, that would be a rare moment of failure for someone who's used to winning at everything. The 1-minute performance against the Spurs will probably be remembered as a turning point in this story. It's the moment when the awkwardness became impossible to ignore, when even the most generous observers had to admit something is broken here. You can't have a player on your roster who only plays garbage time and blowout losses. That's not development, that's just embarrassing for everyone involved. Looking forward, this situation only gets more complicated. LeBron is 41 years old, and his time in the NBA is limited. If he retires or leaves the Lakers, what happens to Bronny? Does he suddenly get cut because the only reason he was there is gone? Does he get a legitimate chance to prove himself without his father's shadow hanging over him? Or does he just fade away into obscurity, remembered as the kid who got an NBA chance he didn't really earn? The saddest part of all this is that Bronny might actually have a future in basketball, just not in the NBA right now. If he had spent another year or two in college, if he had dominated at that level and entered the draft as a more complete player, maybe this whole thing would be different. But we'll never know because LeBron couldn't wait. He wanted his moment now, and everyone else has to deal with the fallout. So LeBron James is stuck watching his master plan fall apart one bench minute at a time. And there's nothing he can do about it without admitting he was wrong. This story isn't over yet, and honestly, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. Hit that like button and subscribe because this Lakers drama is just getting started.